Hello everybody and welcome to Fight News Now. My name is John Pollock and this is the new home of Fight Network. As always, you've got a packed show to look forward to today with no shortage of guests, including Chael Sonnen, Uriah Faber, Daron Cruickshank, and more. John Ramdeen and Robin Black are going to explain what's what in regards to Fight Night 38 this weekend. The Shift examines Dark Souls 2, and we kick it off with this week's Newsmakers. The O2 Arena will welcome the UFC back this Saturday for Fight Night 38, headlined by a light heavyweight bout between Alexander Gustafsson in his first fight since the war in Toronto against champion Jon Jones. He will look to earn a title rematch, but standing in his way is the undefeated Jimmy Manuwa, who has yet to need the help of any judge's scorecard to put together his unblemished record.
I'm going to shock the world on Saturday. I will show everyone who I am, what I have.
I think that fight was awesome. I think this is one of those fights that people would love to see again. And yeah, and it'd be hard for either one of the fighters not to think they both should rematch.
Unfortunately for the Mauler, Jones felt differently, taking a fight with #1 contender Glover Teixeira instead. With his stock at an all-time high, Gustafsson was booked to face Antonio Rogério Nogueira in the main event of UFC Fight Night 38. However, the Brazilian would go down with an injury, leaving the UFC to search for a new opponent for the Swede.
Out of London, England, Jimmy Poster Boy Manuwa!
Well from that southpaw stance.
The left hook landed. It cut Petrescu, he's out!
Well, that's French firing those knees off. There's another one. There's a lot of blood coming from Chapman, it looks like. Those are some big knees. Referee Graham Waterman.
Back first, be careful with that. Big left from Manawa. Sees Reza down, it's over.
Jimmy Manawa got his start in martial arts at the relatively late age of 28 and hasn't looked back. The South London native has finished all of his 14 fights within 2 rounds and is 3-0 in the UFC. While Poster Boy sits just outside the top 10 according to the UFC's rankings, he has the power and athleticism to surprise the former title challenger. Gustafsson has faced a much higher level of competition in the UFC and will need to use that experience as well as his height and reach to keep the English fighter's big guns at bay. Will Gustafsson maul Manawa and secure his rematch against Jones? Or will Poster Boy impress in front of his home crowd and vault up the light heavyweight rankings?
It is expected that with a Gustafsson victory, he will earn the right to challenge for the light heavyweight title once again without needing to demand the fight. Many fighters, though, will put forth the performance of a lifetime during a bout, but when a microphone is put in front of them, the opportunity is not seized. I spoke with Chael Sonnen recently about the value of taking advantage of your time when addressing the audience.
You got 15 minutes in the octagon, and those are important, but you can make your career in the 30 seconds following those 15 minutes. That's when you can be, everybody that fights that night is going to walk out there with a mouthpiece and a cup and a pair of shorts and fight. The fans are seeing that. You're not going to be different. It doesn't matter if you have an exciting fight, a boring fight, a finish, or this, that, or the other thing. If you want to be different, you have 30 seconds after that fight to be different. And a lot of people miss those opportunities. That's on them. I see guys try to copy me all the time, and I support that. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I support that. Good for you. Give me a reason to watch. But when you get asked, who do you want to fight next, answer the question. Don't say, I'll fight whoever they want me to fight. I know that. I want to know who you want to fight next. Give me a reason. Start a fight. That's what we're doing here, and you don't have to feel bad about it. Daniel Cormier is my friend. I called him out. I didn't go to him first and say I'm going to challenge. I called him out. Deal with it. It doesn't matter if he's my friend or not. We're in fight business. We're going to fight. That's it.
Jon Jones' next defense of his championship will come April the 26th at UFC 172 in Baltimore against Glover Teixeira, and that card has received a strong heavyweight matchup on the main card, as former champion Junior Dos Santos will look to regain his footing in the heavyweight ranks when he collides with 11-1 Stipe Miocic. The biggest fight of 2013 saw Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Saul Canelo Alvarez generate 2.2 million buys on pay-per-view last September. We're going to find out this Saturday if Canelo walks away from that fight with a brighter star and a heavier fan base when he meets Alfredo Angulo at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, as Canelo hopes to rebound from his first professional loss.
Muchos preguntan que por qué Alfredo. Many have asked why Alfredo. Because he's a very good fighter. He's a very strong fighter. He's a fighter that comes forward. He knows how to give a punch, how to take a punch, and he comes to fight. I'm sure all of you want to see a fight. You don't want to see someone that's going to be running all night. I'm going to prepare myself very well to give you guys a great fight, and I'm glad that many of his fans are here, but my fans are better.
One of the biggest stories of 2013 was the run Uriah Faber had, posting a 4-0 record at 135 pounds and earning a title rematch with Barao last month. Faber was unable to get the victory at UFC 169, and he sat down with Robin Black to analyze where he fits in at the bantamweight division, having fought the reigning champion on 2 occasions.
If you look at it, you know, Eddie Wineland just had a crack at the spot, and then I think Rafael Assunção and TJ Dillashaw are the next 2 guys to look at. Rafael Assunção, he's been improving tremendously. You know, we fought back at 145. He's gotten better since then. He's at a new weight class. I think that would be a great match. And him and TJ had a back and forth battle, which I thought TJ Dillashaw won myself. TJ 2 weeks before, a lot of people don't know, he had 10 stitches in his eyebrow. That opened up in the 3rd round from just like the fight, and I think maybe a little headbutt or something. But so that could have swayed the decision. It was in Brazil. So I think Rafael Assunção, TJ Dillashaw, it's a toss-up. I'd love to ask for an immediate rematch, and I feel like after I watched the fight, I'm like, yeah, they could easily say, hey, let me have another crack at it right away. But because I was a late replacement for somebody that was supposed to fight, and I was at the losing side of a bad stoppage, not the winning side of a bad stoppage, I wouldn't mind fighting another fight or 2. One fight would be great with me, and then get back in there, but I know I had more fight in me.
After less than 2 years competing professionally, Kevin Lee received the call every fighter aspires for, that being the offer to compete in the UFC. The 21-year-old jumped at the opportunity to fight Al Iaquinta last month at UFC 169 and came out with a unanimous decision loss on the big stage. Lee is now planning to change his surroundings to better prepare.
I train over in Triumph MMA over in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm from Detroit originally, so you know, I kind of split time between the two, and when I'm over here in Detroit, I train with Cruickshank and Michigan top team over here. But other than that, you know, I plan on going over to Rufus Sport next week. You know, I plan to head down to the Black Zillions, to head over to Alliance in California, maybe even go up to Team Alpha Male if I can. My manager's from Montreal, so I'll try and get up to TriStar. But, you know, I kind of want to bounce between a couple places, check out. I have my head trainer who's going to be my head trainer, but I can always learn from anybody, so that's the plan right now. I've been over to Rufus Sport a few times, and every time that I'm over there, even if I'm over there for a few days, I learn more in those few days than I do in a month, you know, where I'm kind of comfortable and, you know, I kind of know the techniques and I'm more so just training. When I go over to places like Rufus Sport or Alliance or something like that, I learn so much more because they do things different, you know.
It is going to be a welterweight showcase at UFC 171 on March the 15th in Dallas. Not only will a new divisional champion be crowned, but the top 10 picture could see some adjustments. One of the fights at 170 pounds that falls into that category is a bout between Carlos Condit and Tyron Woodley, who hopes to build on his knockout of the night performance against Josh Koscheck back at UFC 167.
I don't really feel like I'm fighting Jackson's camp. I'm fighting Carlos Condit, you know. I didn't want this fight because I thought he was easy and he was a pushover. You know, I'm actually a fan of Condit. I like watching him fight. He brings it every time. You never can count him out. Second round, he looks like he's about to get finished and he comes off that stool and comes to win. So for me, I need these types of bouts. I need, you know, the bout with Josh Koscheck because he was going to force me to use the tools that God gave me. And I think Carlos Condit is going to be my toughest test, and I'm looking forward to it. So my strategy is to be the best Tyron Woodley I can be. If I come out there like a ball of fire, I think, you know, a hard right hand to any welterweight, I'll put him on the ground. And I think that, you know, I'm going to get a chance to test his chin. I think I'm going to get a chance to test his cardio that everybody's talked about. And I think I'm the new generation of the sport, and I'll prove it.
And finally, we check in with UFC lightweight Daron Cruickshank. The veteran of the Ultimate Fighter live season was just added to the May 10th Fight Night card in Cincinnati, where he's going to be fighting Eric Koch. But Koch was not the name on Cruickshank's mind the last time our cameras caught up with him at the recent MMA Combine in Michigan.
As you can see, I am joined by UFC fighter Daron Cruickshank and a friend of his who he will introduce in 1 minute. But first, you and I were talking. We're here at this MMA Combine, Uriah Faber's MMA Combine, and you kind of have not necessarily a beef, but you have a challenge to issue to one of your fellow UFC fighters.
Yeah, I would like to challenge Donald Cerrone to a 3-gun match, and I brought along with me my friend Rick Birchall, who's a 3-gun nation pro shooter.
Enlighten us. Tell us what this is all about.
Well, it's a match with a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun, and we basically run around a field and engage different targets in a particular sequence as fast as we can.
Now, obviously, Donald Cerrone, kind of known as an extreme guy. Why are you picking on Donald?
You know, Donald has gave me some compliments, gave me some nudges in the back, and I feel like I'm a better shooter than him, for sure, because, you know, he goes and kills ducks and stuff, but I'm from Detroit, dude. We shoot back.
You're making this challenge. We've all seen you fight. How are his shooting skills?
He's been coming out to our matches for the past year, and he's a legitimate shooter. So, I feel like he's got a pretty good shot at whatever he's going to do here. And, I think if they also want to do a team match 2-on-2, Donald could pick any one of his friends, and I'll join too.
Now, just tell us, what makes a good shooter?
Just patience and trigger control and the fundamentals of shooting. It's a lot like MMA. If you don't have the fundamentals, you're really going to struggle.
Do you channel your MMA spirit into your shooting?
Every day.
Every day? And how badly do you think you'll beat Donald Cerrone?
I'll smash him. I mean, in shooting, he has no chance whatsoever.
Donald Cerrone, the challenge has been issued. Daron Cruickshank thinks he is a better shooter than you.
And we heard from Daron Cruickshank there, and maybe my favorite question ever, do you put your MMA spirit into shooting? Fantastic stuff.
This guy's a nut job. You should see, he did a breakdown with Robin Black, and he was packing while he showed this guy some fancy kicks. Daron Cruickshank, my type of guy.
Well, it might be a shootout this coming Saturday, and what are you and Robin going to be chatting about on 3 Rounds?
We are talking about all the underdogs at UFC Fight Night 38, which goes down in London, England.
It's coming up. 3 Rounds, John Ramdian and Robin Black when we come back on Fight News Now.
Fight Night 38 goes down this weekend from the O2 Arena in London, England. In the main event, 2 of Europe's best 205-pound fighters collide as Alexander Gustafsson takes on Jimmy Manawa. And Robin, I absolutely love this matchup, but we all saw how good Alexander Gustafsson was in his last fight with John Jones. I think going into that fight, people expected that John Jones would obliterate this guy, but he showed that he was up to the challenge, and many people believe that Gustafsson, the Swedish fighter, emerged victorious, even though John Jones walked away as the 205-pound champion. But we got to look at Jimmy Manawa, a very talented, explosive athlete. Is the UFC really sending this guy to the wolves or throwing him to the wolves right now, considering how talented Gustafsson is?
Well, I mean, what kind of analyst would have said Gustafsson has no chance versus John Jones? That guy would have to be crazy. Actually, guilty as charged. I thought he had no chance. I was one of these dummies who really underestimated Alexander Gustafsson. Do not do it again. I think he is going to go in there and he is going to manhandle. He's going to posterize that poster boy Manawa. And I do think the UFC is maybe taking a really talented, really raw guy with a ton of potential in Manawa and maybe handing it over to somebody who's going to take him down and manhandle him. Gustafsson, don't forget how good his wrestling looked against Jones.
You look at Jimmy Manawa, 34 years of age, with an undefeated record of 14-0. This guy can knock you senseless. And I think this is what the casual fans want to see from really any fighters, but specifically the light heavyweights or the heavyweights. And Jimmy Manawa can, he can offer that. Why do you think the UFC matched Gustafsson up with this guy, considering the fact that we see them going into different territories? We're seeing that, for example, they go to China, they use a lot of local fighters. Jimmy Manawa can be the guy in England. So why does this matchup make sense?
Well, Jimmy Manawa is young. He's 205, and he hits very, very hard, and he impressed the UFC over his last couple of wins. He looked really good against Ryan Gemmo. He looked great in the fight before that. Dana White kept saying, we got to give this kid a big fight. Yes, we've got a young, exciting 205er, but why do we have to put him up against Gustafsson? I know it makes sense. You've got a Scandinavian and a guy from the UK. It makes sense from that perspective. But with so few 205ers, especially so few under 30 years old. I think this is early. Now, again, I mean, I underestimated Gustafsson last time. Maybe I'm underestimating Manawa, but I think Gustafsson is on another level, and I think he proved that against Jon Jones.
I think you have to expect this is going to be one of the candidates for fight of the night, but you also have to look at the welterweight matchup between Amari Akhmadov of Russia, 12-1 right now in his mixed martial arts career, taking on the undefeated Icelandic fighter Gunnar Nelson. And if you've ever seen this guy fight, he is an absolute terror. And I know people get pissed off that I say absolute, but he's an absolute monster. Gunnar Nelson, one of the best grapplers in mixed martial arts, one of the best in the entire welterweight division, has a karate background. The problem is, keeps his head up high and is very reckless with his approach to striking. But I think that's part of his appeal, is that he is so crazy reckless, but he can take the punches. Will he be able to take the punches from the Russian?
Listen, brother, first of all, don't go changing for nobody. I don't care if they say you say absolutely too much. You're the man. Second of all, listen, this is a great fight. Right now, there's always people saying, are there enough top guys? Are there enough big names out there? Right now, it doesn't matter when you've got great up-and-comers like this. We got Gunnar Nelson. This guy's undefeated, a draw in his first fight. Unbelievable jiu-jitsu guy, a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy, elite, icy cold. He's from Iceland. It's not a coincidence, maybe. I don't know. But he is so good. And then you get another Dagestani fighter who's just got that complete game, that complete combat sambo game. We know how good these guys have looked up and down in the UFC. They control distance well. The sambo game, from the beginning, you know, as they develop as sambo fighters, they understand closing range and shifting through ranges, something very important in MMA. Love this fight, man. Gunnar Nelson, if he puts this on the ground, he's walking away with a performance bonus for a magical finish. But on the feet, this is a real cool fight.
We have to imagine the only blemish on the Russians' resume right now is a submission loss, I think, by guillotine. And you have to expect that Gunnar Nelson will say, you know what, I'm going to try to exploit the submission deficiencies of the Russian. However, you know he's made improvements. You know that when you look at tape on Gunnar Nelson, this is a guy that manhandled Jeff Monson, who is a heavyweight fighter at ADCC, and I think that you cannot underestimate the grappling abilities of Gunnar Nelson. Renzo Gracie has talked this guy up, saying he's an absolute phenom and that he will be a future champion, but you have to love the striking as well. We got to get to all the action that goes down in Texas, the great state of Texas, UFC 171, the main event for the UFC welterweight championship of the world, and the entire welterweight picture could be affected. Robbie Lawler taking on Johnny Hendricks for the vacant strap. Carlos Condit taking on Tyron Woodley. What a great card. If that's not enough, Jake Shields and Hector Lombard collide. A phenomenal fight card. You and I were talking about the main event, and I know that Johnny Hendricks is a 3-1 favorite in this fight, but you don't see it that way.
Hey, man, 3-1 is crazy. I really love the way this fight is coming together. And first of all, I love the way this card has come together. In the wake of GSP walking away, we're going to kind of get it all figured out in one night, at least the new pecking order. Listen, man, Hendricks is a killer. We saw how good he looked against George. He's been getting better and better. But let's just look at their weapons. He has that killer straight left that he lunges forward with. Lawler has a brutal counter right hand. Southpaw versus southpaw, that is going to come into effect. I'm going to break that down on 5 rounds on Monday, and I'm pumped to do it. Robbie Lawler should not be that big of an underdog. Joey Odessa, if you're listening, those odds are out of control.
And what about Carlos Condit and Tyron Woodley? Woodley, does he just have to go and look at that fight with Johnny Hendricks to say, okay, Carlos Condit is probably the most complete fighter in all of mixed martial arts right now. Very, very talented. Don't try to stand with this guy. Put him on his back immediately. Pursue the takedown the entire time, and hopefully he can walk away with a decision. Is it that simple?
On paper it is, but Condit, I think, is going to come out here and make a statement that wrestling is no longer his problem, and he is going to put on a clinic. Tyron Woodley is explosive and powerful and talented, but this is Condit's night.
Don't go anywhere. Up after the break, the viral video, and a lot more. Stay tuned. Fight News Now is coming your way.
Welcome back. It's Fight News Now. I'm John Pollock. This weekend, Glory will be returning with some of the world's top kickboxers, including a legend in the sport in Mirko Cro Cop, as he meets another veteran, Remy Bunyaski, in a rematch from 2002. You can catch that card from Zagreb, Croatia, this Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern on Fight Network. We've got the shift coming up right now, so let's welcome in Priscilla Carapan.
Bandai Namco Games is releasing Dark Souls 2 for PS3 and Xbox 360 on March the 11th, and for PC on April 25th. The open-world multiplayer action game will follow an undead character who has been cursed by a dark ring, and now he has to find a cure to release him of this curse. This sequel will surely give you your dose of hardcore RPG action.
You are of the undead, forever without hope, forever without light.
Dark Souls 2 is Namco Bandai's highly anticipated sequel to the punishing 2011 breakout hardcore action RPG Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2 brings the franchise's renowned difficulty to an unfamiliar world, a new storyline, and a new hero. Triumphant epic battles against heinous enemies as you roam through a world ravaged by death and despair, and do so in single or multiplayer modes. Dark Souls 2 also has ramped up customization. Now you can finely tune your hero to give him or her the greatest chance for survival. Only the strong will survive while the weak will perish and suffer in their pursuit of glory.
Thank you as always, Priscilla, and when the shift comes to a close, that means the video player is ready to roll with our weekly viral video, and now we can find out what this week's contents are. New set, same stupidity, folks. And that will bring us to a close of this week's edition of Fight News Now. I want to thank all of our guests, including Chael Sonnen, Uriah Faber, Daron Cruickshank, as well as all the other guests that stopped by. This week on the MMA Report, I'm chatting with VADA President Dr. Margaret Goodman, as well as journalist Jonathan Snowden. Don't miss Glory 14 this Saturday, 4 Eastern. And on behalf of John Ramdeen, Robin Black, Priscilla Carapan, and the whole Fight Network crew and our set, give our set a round of applause. I'm John Pollock, and enjoy all of the fights this coming weekend.
Why? I have to take off my hoodie when I want to go into a store? It's raining. It's cold. And the tells me that I have to take off my hoodie or she's not going to serve me a Slurpee. You serious?